the Crack YouTubers. It's episode 3 of Two Bald Knobs, being hosted by myself, Scarnier.
And me, 6 plus Stevo.
So what's the story? How are we all keeping? What have you been up to hobby-wise yourself, Stevo?
Yeah, good man, good. Hobby-wise, very little actually. I've been hectic, busy work and everything. Coming towards the summer holidays, so the kids haven't gone back to school yet. So I've had precious little time for hobby. The only thing of note I've really done is I picked up a couple of copies of Conquest.
Alright.
I will we'll get onto that today.
Yeah.
We'll have to chat about that in a minute, I'm sure. Yeah. So I picked up one copy for myself and a copy for my boy. He's 7 years old now, and he's showing an interest in, what I'm doing and stuff with the models and things, and he's fascinated by it and he likes them. So I know I've slung him a few old Orc models here and there, and now he's got a couple of Primaris Marines to build and paint, and yeah, he was chuffed. And so was I, actually. It's a cracking deal. So, yeah, pick that up. Hobby-wise, though, other than just tidying up my little sort of building, painting, collecting corner of the bedroom and just sort of getting that into some order, I've not really done anything. YouTube-wise, been covering a lot of the news and the leaks and stuff that's been coming out. And, sort of made another video recently of my old series of videos I was doing of should GW bring back, and focused on another classic character from York history, old Makari, the Gazgol's famous grot. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to, mate. How about yourself?
How about myself? I got the issue of Conquest as well. Like, the jump
How
onto.
many?
Yeah,
How many?
I had some self-restraint, unlike some people. I only bought one issue, even though there was more than one. I may have made a video on this point and ruffled a few feathers, but I was just being honest. As
You
yeah,
know,
no, it's like you're saying, like your boy who's 7, he's interested into the hobby. That's who this is aimed for. So I don't see the point in people buying up like 5 and whatever issues, and when the 7 or 8 year old goes into his newest agents, lo and behold, none left. That's
oh
happening.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I watched your video. I listened to it. I was on the way home from work and I was listening to it, and it was it was a good video. I thoroughly enjoyed it, actually. And so I remember messaging you and saying this is going to be a good video. I think it'll be a good conversation starter, and it might, like you say, ruffle a few feathers and stuff. But it's a good one to get a conversation going, definitely. And you made a lot of good points in that video, actually. And I mean, certainly, and I think seeing by the comments on the video, that even the people that have bought up a lot of copies are largely in agreement on these scalpers and the people that buy up loads of copies and then sell them on at inflated prices and stuff. I mean, on that video itself, you showed eBay
The
screenshot
auctions,
of, yeah, like £10, and it. You can't stop it. Everyone can do what they want. It's capitalism, and people are free to spend their money on what they want and buy how many copies they want and stuff. But that sort of thing, it is a real shame to see, especially, like you say, if as you said in the video, little Timmy or Johnny go in there and they can't get it, and then they have to get mum or dad to scour eBay and buy it for 5 times the regular retail price.
That's it. Like I don't know. It's just it. I just felt I had to talk about it because I had to be honest on the subject. Yourself. You know, I knew it wouldn't. Some people wouldn't be happy about what I had to say, but I was just being honest. You know what I mean? I felt it was something that wasn't being addressed by people, and I had to talk about it because it was bothering me. Because I, I just harked back to when I first got into the hobby, and that feeling of the excitement you had when you got like your first miniatures, or I was sort of projecting that image of like if the kids were picking up that first issue of the magazine, and it even says in bold writing like your first Citadel miniatures above the Marines. That's who it, that's who it's squarely aimed at. So it just sort of bothered me that potentially there could be young hobbyists out there, guys who could be into get into 40k through this magazine, who could lose that opportunity just because some people want a bargain. You know what I mean? But like, and it's gonna upset some people. Me being honest about it and saying that, but I felt I had to get it off my chest because it was bothering me for a couple of days. It is
Yeah,
what it is.
yeah, totally. And you made some good points. And more importantly, you made the points very respectfully as well. There's nothing wrong at all with giving a new opinion. And if that someone else disagrees with that opinion, then that's perfectly fine. And I think as long as, if you do think, deliver that sort of message and air your views in a respectful, mature way, there's certainly no harm in that. Like we were discussing just before we went, started recording this show. I said to you, you didn't go all Gamza on them, so that's
And pull no
which,
two
by the
smoking
way,
balders.
just popped into my head right this second. We have to make that a topic of a future show. The heresy videos he's doing currently are hilarious. But they're a bit close to the nerve for people they're aimed at. But it's yeah. I mean, yeah. I think everyone's going to debate and disagree on things and stuff. But when you're saying about like it's the sheer amount of people doing it, it's insane. I mean, even when I went in there, I went into my local WH Smith's and looked along the magazine racks. I couldn't see it anywhere. And my boy, I told him what we were getting. He was quite excited. I'm thinking, oh God, they have actually sold out. And then I saw a lady come out from the stockroom. She was refilling a similar type build-along magazine onto the shelf. And I said to her, excuse me, have you got any of the 40k Conquest magazines? And she just smiled at me and said, oh yeah, we've got loads of them. And then she came out, put her hands in the box, came up to me and literally handed me like 4 or 5 of them, just assuming that I was going to do what every other customer had done before me. And I said, oh, just 2, thanks, and that. So, but yeah, so I think even in the shops, they were just fully aware that people were buying up loads of copies of them. But yeah, I mean, it was insane value though, wasn't it? I mean, just $1.99 for just the paints alone. You're making a huge saving, aren't you? And models,
Oh,
and you get a
massive, yeah,
brush
yeah.
and
Like
everything.
in Ireland, I think it
Incredible.
was €2.79 or something like that. And if you're to go into the Games Workshop and buy one of the paints, it's about €3. Because I remember I did that recently. I went in and I bought, I think it was 3 washes and 7 paints, and it was 40 quid. So I can understand,
Shit.
the lure of it. I can understand like the temptation because of it, that it's such good value. So I can understand why people are doing it, but I just wanted to hit that message home that, just have a little bit of strength, guys. You know what I mean? Because you might be depriving somebody getting into the hobby. That's all I was thinking of. That's who
Yeah.
it's aimed at, and I understand it's great value. People are going to be buying multiple copies so they can make whole units. It's like, but at the end of the day, just think of the bigger picture. You know what I mean? There's always going to be scalpers, no matter what happens. But
Yeah, definitely. And like I say, I think it will happen to a much lesser extent, but I think it will happen a little bit with issue 2 as well, because that's still I mean, obviously the regular price of the magazine going forward is going to be $7.99 sterling, but the issue 2 is $4.99, I think. So that's still at a sort of a reduced price. So for a £5, and in the next issue you're getting, what is it, 3 Plague Marines, some
and a paint.
dice, yeah, and 1 paint, which again in itself, just getting 3 Plague Marines and a paint would I would say you're probably looking around the £10 mark there. I mean, what are 3 Plague Marines? They've got to be like 7 or 8 quid, something, buying at normal price. Then you get as well. I mean, yes, I'm looking forward to issue 2 as well. I mean, I probably plan to at least get the first 4 issues. I still haven't decided whether I'm going to subscribe yet, but just because seeing what you're getting in these first 4 issues basically will equip me with 2 more kill teams. It'll give me a nice, 3 Primaris. Then issue 3, you get I can't even remember what they're called now. The sort of scouty Primaris fellas.
Intercessors. I don't know. So you have 2 orc players here. It's like, what are these specific
Yeah,
marines called?
and then you get your Poxwalkers in issue 4. So I think that will basically, just having those 4 issues will give me a Primaris kill team and a Nurgle kill team that I may do nothing with. They may sit in my bits box and that and never get touched, or I might decide to let's build these up and make a little kill team, have a bit of variation and stuff. But it's just the magazine's taken off massively, and I think it's going to be a huge success. So on a positive note, that's really cool.
Definitely, I think it's going to bring in a whole wave of hobbyists through all ages of the spectrum. Just think of the exposure down in your news agents, every Tesco's, WH Smith, you know what I mean? Everybody's going to see that, so it's got to be a lot of exposure, and people were saying that they're seeing advertisements on the television as well, so hopefully it's going to bring in a whole new wave.
We've not seen that for a long time, many years, not since I was any sort of Games Workshop adverts on the TV. Blimey, I wasn't even aware of that.
Your old Hero Quest advertisements for your broadsword.
Yeah, classic stuff. Awesome adverts they were. But yeah, man, it's great to be able to every week get yourself, build up a collection for the price of a packet of fags, and go in there, and it's a lot healthier than a packet of fags as well. And to build up your collection, so you get in, dice and measuring sticks and paints and brushes and a few models here and there. It's cool, awesome deals. And by the end of it, you're going to have an impressive set of scenery and 2 very impressive sized armies out of it. It's really cool.
And the paints to paint them as well. You get all the paints and stuff, and then even in the first issue, there's post stuff. It looks really good value for money. I'd say I've put down a subscription myself, so I'll be going through the whole thing.
Yeah, and you get obviously with the subscription as well, you get a load of freebies in there as well. Paint handles and
bits and pieces,
mold line removers and all sorts of cool stuff. And isn't there going to be one exclusive Primaris, I think like a captain or a lieutenant or something like they've shown?
I know. See, I went a bit mad and I was like, oh look, they're giving away like boards and stuff. So I went for the premium subscription.
Yep.
All extra whatever, but you'll be able to see then whether it's actually worth. There's been 1,000,001 videos of people going, it's actually worth the value. They showed you all the miniatures you get, and I think let alone the miniatures, it'll be worth the value. Then the paints on top and whatever else they give you. All in all, I think it's a great idea. I think it'll be great for the hobby, as long as kids can get it in their hands.
Yeah.
I think it'll be great for the hobby.
It's an absolutely amazing time for new hobbyists in GW now. You got the with Kill Team, making a big impact. Having these smaller scale skirmishes, sort of selling really well and making the hobby so much more accessible for people on a budget or younger players. And then this Conquest magazine taking it to the next level. It's such a good time to get into the hobby, for sure. The best it's been for years and years and years for new players, that's for damn sure.
I agree with you there wholeheartedly. You can definitely, since Games Workshop have changed over management, the change in sort of like attitude towards the community at large is like night and day compared to the way it was previously. This magazine series being one part of it, but like Kill Team and even their community pages, Facebook page, you know what I mean, getting involved in tournaments, official like organization of stuff. It's getting better in general, I feel. And like I said, from what I gathered, the Orc Codex looks like it's going to be absolutely awesome, especially all the different clan rules that are coming up, and the Speed Freak box set was shown, so that looks awesome. You know yourself.
Oh shit, yeah, and that's good actually. I don't know how long we're into this video now, but we've been quite a good while in, and we've mentioned something to do with orcs, so that's good.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of our subscribers right now are probably thinking, yeah, I don't care. When are you going to start talking about orcs? But yeah, we got a lot of exciting times. I mean, oh my god, can you imagine if Conquest had come out and one of the factions in that magazine was orcs? Oh my god.
Crazy. Be crazy.
Oh, geez, yeah. Oh, yeah. If the first issue had been like getting 5 knobs and a few paints, 5 knobs and a few different shades of green paint or something, like, by God, to be honest, mate, I probably would have been one of those people buying up 10 fucking 12 copies.
An army of knobs.
Yeah, so actually, to be honest, mate, we're kind of getting on our high horse a bit in that. But I suppose if we've been honest with ourselves and looking at that, if it had been orcs, I don't know if I would have had the restraint.
I don't know, man. I have a shed full of them at this stage. It's like, really? Do I need 5 more knobs? Do I need 10? You know what I mean? When you get to that stage with orcs, it's like, oh, I've like 600 miniatures not built. Yay!
You can never have too many orcs.
Well, yeah, I suppose. Yeah, you can never have too many orcs.
Buy them in the bucket load.
True. So I don't know whether I should pipe up about this at this stage, but do we want to talk about our bet that we made the last time?
Oh, hell yeah, we do. Hell yes. So, yeah, for those of you that don't know, who didn't watch the last episode of Two Bald Knobs, if you didn't, what the hell are you doing? Stop what you're doing right now. Go back, watch episode 2 and episode 1. In episode 2, anyway, last episode, we had a little wager because we got in a little bit of a debate, didn't we?
Oh, a little bit of a spate, yeah. As to whose clan is the best, but apparently you've been out there bribing the audience, so it's rigged as always when it comes to bad moons.
Yeah, so we basically said we'll put it out to the viewers and the subscribers, and in the comments below, you let us know which is the best clan, and whoever gets the most votes, or whoever gets the least votes, shall we say, will have to paint up an orc boy in the other one's colours. And to start with, I mean, you, Blood Axe, you were getting a few votes, and I was starting to sweat a little bit. But like you say, I slipped a few teeth in the pockets of the right warlords, and sure enough, those bad moon votes came pouring in. Actually, for a little while, it looked like neither of us were going to win because I think there was a lot of votes for Death Skulls.
That would have been hilarious.
Yeah.
Both of you have to paint up Death Skulls. Basically, I've lost a bet.
Yeah.
So I have to paint up a miniature at least in Bad Moon colours. So I'll do that. I'll get it done before. Yeah, I'll get it done in the next week or something. Before the next episode of Two Bald Knobs, I'll do up a video of the painted Bad Moon. And trust me, I don't have a painted Bad Moon. So I don't know if I'll do a paint along video or I'll just do the finished miniature. But I'll throw up a video somewhere along the lines. Steve-O wins the bet or something like that. You'll know the video when you see it. I'll throw up a video of the Bad Moon. I'll put my Blood Axe twist to it, but he'll be a Bad Moon. He'll be yellow. Don't worry.
Very cool, very cool. It's just, I don't know. It's a shame you didn't get any yellow paint in the Conquest mag. You might have to go and invest in some.
Oh, don't worry. I paint hot rod flames on my grot tanks, so I'm sure I have some yellow around here. I bought enough starter sets over the years.
Yeah, speaking of hot rod flames, we did have a lot of votes for Speed Freaks as well. Actually, a lot of votes for those, and I think they're going to be probably the number one most popular clan, I think, going forward. If these new models and games, they're really pushing that. So I think it's going to be a great time for Evil Sons players. So, guys, you might not have won the vote, but I think you're going to win in the long run with the models and things that are coming out for you guys. These new buggies and warlords on trikes and all this amazing stuff we've got to look forward to.
It does look promising, and I'm really excited about the Speed Freaks box set as well that they finally released it. It looks really good. And yeah, like the 2 buggies that are in there, And like you were saying about the Warboss Strike that's being released, and in the Speed Freaks box set itself, you have 6 bikes, 3 for each side, and in the scrap terrain. And as for the mechanics of the game, I don't know, but it looks like it's a sort of a secret dice bidding game where I don't know, you'll put down dice giving your miniatures orders and up. I don't know the exacts, but it looks cool, and I know I'll probably be buying at least 2 copies myself. I don't know about you. I think my bank account is going to be severely drained over October. That's not including the Codex.
I mean, yeah, buying up 2 copies. It seems we just don't buy up 4 or 5 and stick them on eBay.
No, I won't. I won't buy 4 or 5 and stick them on eBay. Don't worry.
I'm keep making jokes about this all show, I think. But yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do in October yet. I mean, I've limited funds, very limited funds, and if I go out and buy everything they release, my missus is going to shit a brick. So it's going to be fucking. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, the Codex for one. I mean, that straight away. What's that? 25, 30 quid. That's instant. I mean, the Codex is going to be the number one purchase. But I don't know yet. Speed Freaks, yeah, that's bound to be. I imagine it's going to be such good value. It's going to be one of those things that's kind of a must buy. You just almost be stupid not to, because you would probably be getting so much for your money.
Well, this is it. Like, we don't know the price point as of the making of this episode, but I reckon it'll either be Kill Team or cheaper. I think it might even be cheaper. Because looking at the amount of sprues that were in the leaked box, like, that box isn't as big as the Kill Team box. You know what I mean? So I think it'll be cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, the Kill Team box was obviously just 2 squads, but there was a huge amount of terrain plus the board and everything. Yeah, if it's cheaper than Kill Team, they are gonna. I hope they've got a big fucking stockpile, because they're gonna need it, because that is gonna be selling like hotcakes.
But I reckon either the price. I reckon it'll either be about Kill Team or cheaper. Like, because if you look at the Kill Team box, man, it was such good value for money. You got the rule book, like you said, you got the terrain, you got the 2 kill teams, you got everything. It was a self-contained game, like.
Yeah, totally. But I mean, I think this is probably going to be an even bigger seller in a sense. I think. I mean, Kill Team is great for anyone, even if then. I was about to say Kill Team was a good purchase whether you were going to play the game or not, but that's probably not true. But Speed Freaks definitely does fit that. I think whether people are going to play the game or not is largely irrelevant. People are going to snap that up just because they're all players.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with you there. I think some people will just buy it for the miniatures, the new buggies. But I'm hoping that there's a half decent game in as well. It looks, by the looks of it, it looks like they put some effort into game design just from the picture of it. You know what I mean? Where they've bothered to give you, I think, I'm not too sure if they're like cardboard tiles for the desert, and they've obviously done custom dice for the game. I think there's a few bits and pieces. You know what I mean? So hopefully it's something interesting, the game in and of itself. Yeah. But definitely, I think it'll be. Yeah. They'll do their usual thing where it'll be such good value, it'll be hard for you not to buy it.
Yeah, they're bastards for that lately. They are masters of extracting money from my wallet recently, and they're basically like drug dealers at the moment. They're just, you know, they've got us hooked completely on this plastic crack.
Plastic crack, yeah. I got that good plastic crack you're after, dear buddy. And it has been relentless. That's a good complaint, though. It has been relentless that there's been that many things, and in the past year, just released. It's like, oh, I want that, and oh, I want that one as well. You know what I mean? Like, I was half thinking about Kill Team, and then I saw it, and I was like, oh yeah, I have to buy it, man.
Yeah. I mean, we don't even know what else is coming yet. I mean, this could just be the tip of the iceberg. We've got no idea, whether they're going to have new characters, other new units. We've seen a lot of vehicle-based stuff so far. We've already had sort of in amongst the leaks of naming these vehicles before they were actually shown. There was mention of some. I can't remember what the name was now, but there was the list of all the names of the 3 buggies that we've got, plus the war boss on Wartrike. There was a 5th one, and it was in reference to some kind of flying vehicle, like a new fighter or something, or a new bomber. So by the sounds of it, take it with salt, obviously, but it sounds like we've got some sort of new flyer, of some description in the works coming, and then God knows what else. I mean, I think they could be saving like the best till last. It's a really bloody exciting time right now.
It'll be interesting, yeah, definitely. Like I said, from what I can tell, what they've done with previous codexes, in general, that they seem to be good. There seems to have been a little bit of a hiccup with the Space Wolf Codex, though. Is there a problem?
Yeah, something about. I mean, I haven't looked into it too deeply because they're dirty, oomy Astartes. But yeah, there's something to do. Wasn't it something to do with the warlord traits or the warlord relics or something that they were completely missing from it, or they were all like there was quite a big error in there. They've had to do a big sort of FAQ and a PDF thing that you can basically
Print off,
have
yeah, for the Codex. But that's, yeah, that's not the best, to be honest with you. You know what I mean?
it's pretty bad. And I don't think, I mean, I think over the years we've had things like that, and there's been little FAQs in codexes and stuff, which used to take a lot longer to come out. But I think that is a symptom of their massive increase in how rapidly they've been releasing these codexes, because they set themselves, the lofty goal of once they released 8th to basically within a year get out all the codexes, and that's a huge undertaking.
Do you think that it
And I think
may be because some of these codexes have been held off for so long? Because we had Age of Sigmar come out and other products. Um, because we've been
I
waiting for
think
the last 3 codexes for a few months now between Gene Stealer, Cultists, Space Wolves, and Orcs. Do you think that maybe it might have been
I think
because
they're just release schedule and the amount of stuff I mean, just as a 40k player, they are releasing an insane amount of stuff on such a regular basis. When you take into account, like you say, Age of Sigmar, their specialist games, all the stuff they're releasing, all the books they're releasing, the codexes, and that's got to have a bit of a knock-on effect. And they've got to be putting such huge pressure on themselves and time constraints on the writers of these codexes and everything, that you're bound to get mistakes, because I think they're rushing this stuff out. And they can fix it and address it quickly, but they want to be a bit wary of that and a bit careful of that. They don't want to be making a habit of doing that and releasing code, releasing something that's effectively broken. It's not good. It's not good practice to get into and just think, well, it's fine. We can release a PDF to, it's basically like DLC in the gaming community. It's releasing a game that's effectively broken,
yeah.
and you have to get a day one patch to actually make the thing work. And we're kind of facing a similar prospect with codexes, and that would slightly tarnish October if we got a codex and then within a few days people realize that something in there is massively broken, or they've missed out, or they've got the points wrong. I mean, I think actually thinking back, I think in I don't know if I'm remembering this right or not, but I'm pretty sure in my Necron Codex there's a bit of an error where they've got in the sort of summary bit, they've got the elites and the troops section mixed up. So it's got all your things like your Lich Guard and stuff listed as troops, and it's got all your warriors and immortals and stuff listed as elites, and they're basically swapped them around. And it's sort of, you think, God, that's quite a simple, obvious thing. You think no one picked that up during the editing bit? It's a bit, yeah, it's a little bit shoddy. But on the plus side, we've got basically every codex for every faction within a year of 8th edition being out, and pretty damn good when you look back at previous editions.
Oh
And
yeah, definitely.
some factions never got a codex for an edition of the game, did they?
Oh,
Orcs,
yeah.
Orcs very much included in that.
Yeah, orcs have been sparse on the codexes, and then Sisters of Battle have been crying out for one for generations, and then the squat players pipe in going, well, back in my day, you know.
And then Space Marine players get a new codex every 6 months.
Well, that's because they're such a large percentage of their sales overall, let alone in 40k Space Marine. From what I heard from people who used to work for them, they're a fair old chunk of their sales is just Space Marines.
Definitely. But that would, mate, that would be too much though. It would kind of suck to be a Space Marine player and have your rules refreshed that often. Actually, I wouldn't like that to happen to orcs. That would kind of suck. Like,
Yeah,
really,
I'd say so. It's probably a blessing and a burden at the same time. It's like you're
yeah.
gonna get updated, so you're gonna have more recent rules, but then you're gonna be buying more codexes. You know what I mean?
And I suppose if your codex is crap, you don't have long to wait to another one.
Another one comes along, but the Imperium at large, you can just make soup lists where you pick and choose from other Imperial factions. So the Marines, if people are collecting Marine armies, from what I gather, they have some good flexibility, where people just take Imperial Guard detachments along just to create command points for them, and then boost their other stuff. From what I gather, that's what people seem to be saying on the interwebs. Whether it's true or not, I have no idea. I'm an orc player. I don't play filthy Space Marines yet. We'll see how this Warhammer Conquest gets me going. I don't know. Clan wise, I'm interested to see what the Blood Axes get in the Codex. From what you were saying in regards to leaks and stuff, Blood Axe is getting like a cover save in the open or an improved cover save. An improved cover save would be awesome. If they got like +2 on cover, that would be get a cover save of 4+ like back in the old days.
Oh yeah, I think they definitely. I mean, I think Bones, by the look of it, have got I would say actually the weakest of all the traits. I mean, re-rolling ones is good, is helpful, and combined with the Daka army wide rule,
yeah,
is going to
a
improve
godsend, man.
shooting massively. And I think,
yeah,
I think definitely be good, but I think when you look at things like the Speed Freaks have got really powerful one where they've got sort of added 1 inch to movement, and then add another inch to your charges and stuff. So that's going to make the mobility of Speed Freaks really bloody good and increase your chances quite a lot. Like first turn charges off and stuff. So that's going to be really effective.
but this is the thing though. I find it interesting because it could be good and bad for people, because I'm sure there's people out there who have one clan armies, like me for instance. Like I haven't fully painted it, but I envision my Blood Axes as being mostly Blood Axes. But if you look into the fluff, it's more fluffy to have various clans under the one banner, because as the WoW progresses, the core of the army, so most of the boys, the core will be that warband that started at the very start with the war boss, and as they become more and more successful, so obviously the war boss is going to be a clan, and then most of his boys starting off are going to be a clan, and as they progressed and got better, more and more orcs from the periphery will be drawn in, and there'll be orcs from various clans. You know what I mean? You'll have Badmills coming in with their guns. You might have looters that are Death Skulls. Gazgul being a prime example. Like he's from the Goths, but you get, as the army gets bigger and the WoW gains momentum, it becomes more diversified. So I'd be interested to see how that'll work out for people's armies, and then myself, how I want to approach that. Will I just play pure Blood Axes if it's 2,000 points or less? And then if I play like big Apocalypse games, will I then paint other clan units? I don't know. I haven't decided myself. What do you think, man?
I think, yeah, you make some very good points there. And I think think competitive-wise on the tournament scene, you will definitely see a lot of mixed clans. I think that is by far going to be the strongest, because then you are going to be able to tailor your list and, give, for example, see your shooter units, you're going to want to put them in a bad moon detachment and have, buff their shooting, or freebooters with what they were talking about of having sort of +1 to hits for every unit droid. So, freebooters or bad moons for your shooty stuff. You're probably going to want to have your boys and your knobs and stuff to have most likely the goth trait. And it all fits fluff-wise. And so not only are you going to have a really competitive army, but like you say, fluff-wise, it's going to make sense, because you're going to have, a warband that has absorbed all these other, clans and stuff that have, joined in with the war. And that's definitely going to be the most competitive and fluffy sort of list, really. But for me personally, I love the idea, much like yourself with the Blood Axes. I envision my army as a purely Bad Moons clan army, and I intend to keep it that way, and I intend to paint them all yellow. But I think for fun games at home and things, casual games, you can play around with that and try out, different detachments and try out different clan traits and have some fun with it. Especially when you're in my position and most of your stuff's still grey anyway. You can do that, no worries at all. But it's going to be interesting to see the list that people come up with. And I think if you're playing purely competitive wise, and you want to mix it up and just get the best traits to go with a specific unit, you're really going to be able to maximize that to maximum efficiency and get some really good combinations of clan traits.
Well, this is it. Like, we don't know how the clans are going to interact in the Codex in and of itself. The same with like Space Marines, how their different chapters work. I'm not 100% sure. Are we going to be able to pick just like a unit of flash kits? Are we going to be able to pick like Blood Axe Commandos to go with our Goth boys? Are we going to have Speed Freak bikes? Is that all going to be accessible, or will it have to be something like the Rogue Trader era days, where it's like, well, the biggest, the core of your army should be whatever your clan is, and then you're allowed peripheral sort of stuff. Like, because back in the Rogue Trader era days, when you picked mobs of boys, you had your big mob, and that was to represent the core of the army. That'd be the biggest mob of boys. That would be the clan that matched the war boss. So in my case, it would be, my war boss would be Blood Axe, and the biggest mob would be Blood Axes as well. And then after that, you could have smaller mobs of boys, so they could be like Bad Moons or whatever, you know what I mean, or Snake Bites. But the biggest mob always had to be your war boss's clan, to represent that was the core, the nucleus of the army starting off. So I'm pretty interested. Like, I really do think that the Codex is going to be good, unless they pull something like what they've done on the poor Space Wolf players, where they just haven't crossed the T's and dotted the I's at the final hurdle. I think someone dropped the ball and it wasn't noticed, and you know what I mean. It's upset a few players.
Although I think that was pretty like errors in the unintentional errors in the Codex. But I think in terms of competitiveness, I think the Space Wolves don't have too much to worry about. I mean, I've watched some of the videos and things that people revealing some of the warlord traits and the stratagems they've got and the special abilities that Space Wolves have. They are going to be a really, really tasty assault army on the tabletop. And I mean, I will be facing them. My regular opponent has a Space Wolf army, so I do imagine it won't be long before I'm facing Space Wolves on the table and see just how brutal they are in combat. So that's going to be interesting to face off against. But yeah, what you were saying about the how the different clan traits and work and how they'll interact with each other, I think it will be exactly like all the other codexes with their equivalents of, whereas it's all down to detachment. So you would need a purely like a Bad Moon detachment. You could have a Blood Axe Outrider detachment, and then a Goth Vanguard detachment. So, and then everything in that detachment has to be from the same clan. So to get multiples, yeah, and then you would get certain buffs and things. I think would maybe be restricted. So if your war boss was a Blood Axe, maybe he, a mob of boys from a Bad Moon detachment won't gain the benefit from his auras. It probably work in some way like that. But for me, not going to be an issue really, because I do intend to purely stick to the Bad Moons, even with specific units and things that might not necessarily gain too much out of it. Like Slugger Boys, for example, aren't going to benefit greatly from re-rolling ones from shooting with their pistols. A little bit, but you'd probably rather give them something else.
No,
Yeah, I
I'm the
mean,
same.
talking of
Yeah, I'm the same myself. I think, yeah, I'd agree with you there in regards to the clans. It's like you have your army as a Bad Moon army in your mind. That's what it's always been. That's what it's always going to be, and it's not going to change just because there might be better rules out there in the Codex. I'm similar in with my Blood Axes. Like I said, the only time I'd potentially bring in a different clan unit is if it was like an apocalypse game or something massive like that. But even at that, I I don't know, man. Like I like painting me Blood Axes. Um, the only thing that unifies my army, color wise, is the skin. You know what I mean? So even if I did like Bad Moons or Snake Bites, it would just be a camouflage in the color of that faction. But like I said, I've barely painted any miniatures as it is for the Blood Axes. It's like painting other clans is not high on the priority list. The priority list is to get the boys done. And as you were saying, sticking with your home clan may be detrimental to some of the units. It may not be the best clan for that unit to be. Like for instance, the Slugger Chopper Boys are probably better off being Goths, but it's like that's not what your army is though. That's not the identity of them. For you it's Bad Moons, and while re-rolling ones for Bad Moons isn't gonna be amazing, you'll still get to use your sluggers in combat and stuff. So it'll, the benefit will be spread around the army. Obviously, some clan traits will be better for some units than others, but like you said, it just depends on the identity of the army itself. There's no point in saying you're collecting a Bad Moon army and then it's like you've got 2 or 3 units that are Bad Moon and everything else is various factions.
Yeah, no, it just doesn't. For me personally, it doesn't appeal to me. I've always generally, in whatever factions I've collected in years gone past, whatever army I've been collecting, I've always generally stuck to a theme and tried to theme my army around, some kind of idea and, get it in that way. And that's just the way I've always collected and played. And to me, I'm sort of in the middle of sort of play to win, but play for the fun and the modelling aspects. But I think for me, the sort of the look and the feel of the army is sort of takes importance over competitiveness for me. And so, yeah, definitely, I will be sticking with Bad Moons and things. And I mean, I know we talked about we in terms of that, we were going to sort of say on this show how advice for players like ourselves in collecting a clan specific orc horde, and what are the right units and stuff to get and how they're going to build that. So like why don't we start with this week's losers, the Blood Axes, and hand it back over to you, Skarner? What would you say to someone right now wanting to collect a purely Blood Axe army, and what units are right to go for? What units are best left on the shelf? How would you go about that?
Oh, if you're going Blood Axes, you have to go like because I love just Blood Axes and the team of them. So because I love Blood Axes, I love Commandos. They may not be like the best choice right now, but like most of my games, I feel the 3 units of at least 10 to 15 of Blood Axe Commandos going in. The support the boys, the shooter boys. I like I've always liked Blood Axe Commandos because that clan has always suited my mentality. You know what I mean? They like using tactics. They like using various camouflages, which is awesome. Which means you could paint more than one type of camouflage in the army and you can be artistic with it. And they like commandos. Like you can't. How can you not like sneaky commandos? You know what I mean? I like the Blood Axes because they're not. They don't operate as people expect orcs to operate, and they also Blood Axes find it hilarious to loot Imperial vehicles, leave them in the Imperial colors, and fool the Imperials by getting up really close and shooting the absolute snot out of them. Do you know what I mean? They like there's a sort of a craftiness and a guile to them that I really like. That sort of cunning but brutal or brutally cunning. That sort of you know what I mean. I like that about the Blood Axes. They're sneaky gits.
Yeah, definitely. They definitely. I think they favour Mork over Gork. That's for sure. They're
Or is it
definitely.
Gork over Mork? I'm never too sure
Yeah,
myself.
there's only one way to sort that out, and that's to have a good fist fight over it. And that's
Well,
but
fisticuffs. We'll have to meet in Warhammer World someday. Yeah, we'll have a drinking contest or something. I think that's the only way we can sort this one out.
yeah. But I think you've hit the nail on the head there. For Blood Axes, I think commandos are, if you were playing someone who was playing Blood Axes and they didn't have commandos, you'd raise an eyebrow or two.
Oh, yeah, give him some stick over it, definitely.
Yeah, and definitely looted vehicles is a good call. And I think in terms of sort of units and that maybe you'd leave on the shelf, I don't think there are any, because I think, like you say, they use tactics and they would use every asset that they could. So I don't think there's any kind of unit where you would say that in a Blood Axe army is a bit unfluffy. I think they would make use of everything they could, wouldn't they, if it was tactically wise to do so, or they thought it was tactically wise to do so.
Well, definitely. Like if you go back into the old fluff, like I have some, I I like to hark back to some of the old fluff because it's really interesting stuff. Like I've bought Imperial characters as like Imperial advisors because you used to be able to get stuff like that off of Rogue Trader. So I have like an Imperial advisor. So he's an Imperial officer with the saber. If you've ever seen the miniature, and I bought some, I think it's like second edition or third edition ogres as his bodyguard. So because I reckon like now I haven't painted it and I've never fielded in the army, but just for fluff wise, I thought it was really cool. You'd have like an Imperial advisor, there to help out because like Blood Axes, they're seen as treacherous gits by the rest of the orcs because they're not afraid to hire out their services, mercenary wise. So you could find like Imperial forces fighting alongside them because they've hired out the orcs or the orcs have subjugated their planet. You know what I mean? That type of thing. So I've always really liked that sort of fluff. So I do have
Yeah,
like a
and
few miniatures, and I of
you've
course I've a looted Le Mans Russ or two because I'd always think they've captured a Forge World somewhere, and they're just pumping out Le Mans Russ tanks that are just like looted and boshed together, that type of thing. There's that sort of
yeah
fluff and flavor. What about
yeah
yourself
you've
with the Badmillions? What units would or wouldn't you bring in the army? What do you think? Like if someone came up to you and said, I want to collect the Badmillions army, what straight away comes to your mind for the Badmillions?
straight away. Well, just before I get to that, you've taken me right back down nostalgia lane there to a point where I remember when the Orc army, you could have Ogrins in an Orc army, like, as there was actually listed in the Codex. They said that Ogrins and Orcs, made really good bedfellows. That like the Ogrins loved, they had a very similar mentality and stuff. I don't think that would work quite so well in the fluff and the lore nowadays because Orcs are quite anything not an Orc wouldn't really be welcome, would it? Unless it's just for temporary gain.
What?
But yeah, that was always quite cool when you look back. I don't know if it's a second edition Codex or was it even earlier than that, where Ogrins were literally, part of the Orc army, as we would have used. I'm going off on a bit of a
Freebooters,
tangent.
I think so. It would have been first edition. Here we go, and freebooters had like
Yeah,
Ogre
right.
units and stuff.
Yeah, but very cool. It'd be cool to have squeeze a few Ogrins into an Orc army because they're awesome models in their own. But yeah, no. But getting back on topic, Bad Moons. Yeah, so Mega Knobs straight away, definitely. I think cans by the truckload, Gorkanauts, Morkanauts, big guns, Met guns, battle wagons, flash gits, slightly more freebooter, but definitely works in a bad mood army. Just for basic troops, I think boys work obviously a lot better fluff wise and going forward, competitive wise, probably with the trait. Work a lot better than Slugger Chopper boys. I do in my faction currently. I have sort of 3 big mobs of boys. How I generally run them, and 2 of those big mobs are Slugger boys, purely because I got loads of the Black Reach and Battle for Veg boys, the snap fit ones, so I could just get a basic, mob of boys quickly and cheaply. Which for a little while I'm looking at going, this army's not really how I want it to be, because I would definitely opt more for shooter boys just for fluff reasons. But I think actually it does still work. It is still excusable. It does work because, to me, in my mind, how I envision that is that they're the youths in the army. They're the bad moons that have had their teeth punched out by a bigger bad moon, and he's spent all his money on the flash shooter and that. And these are like my slugger boys. To me, they represent like the lowest of the low within my orc clan. They're the youths. They're the young whelps that can't yet afford a nice shiny shooter. So they've got a slugger and a chopper, and they're sort of having to build their way up the ranks and barter and trade until they can get themselves a proper, good shooter like any good self-respecting bad moon will have. Until then, they're stuck with their weedy little cheap-ass pistols. But yeah, definitely my clan currently is not, my army is not quite where I want it to be yet. I've started making low tools out. I've got another Death Dread, so I've got 2 of them now. I've got 6 killer cans. I've got my Gorkanaut. I do intend on adding a Morkanaut to the army, probably another Death Dread. I really like the idea of a good Dread mob. But Bad Moon's really the ultimate thing you want, I think, with Bad Moons is just loads of DACA, loads and loads of DACA, guns and shininess, flashy armor, so mega knobs, flash gits, or just the really flashy stuff, basically. And mechs, you're going to want big mechs. I think big mechs play a big part in a Bad Moon army because they're going to have someone building, being paid off to build this shiny super shooters and custom mega blasters. And yeah, definitely. I would love the option, because currently the war boss only has an option for your custom shooter or your combi shooters. I would love the option to give a Bad Moon war boss a custom mega blaster, because that very well, because I think a Bad Moon war boss would love to have the most insanely ridiculous, expensive, customized gun that Teeth could buy.
Super snaz gun or something, yeah.
Definite. I would love to have my custom war boss with the snazziest snaz gun that Teeth could buy. Yeah, definite. But yeah, that's where I'd go with Bad Moons. Really, that's my advice to new players. Just if you want Bad Moons, like, stock up on the flashy stuff and the big armor and the big guns, and concentrate maybe slightly less on the close combat and aim more towards a shooty army. But even shooty orcs are good. Even a shooter boy is still bloody. They're no out combat. They just get 1 less attack. They're still a big mob of shooter boys gaining the special rule for being over a certain number and stuff. They're still going to do a lot of damage in assault. And they're going to be able to shoot those assault weapons first. So you're going to get, 2 shots each from them and then some assaults. So you're still orcs. Even an orc with a big gun is still going to be a monster in close combat. So.
Yeah, I've had similar situations before. I remember, I forget what they're called, the death marks, are they? The Necrons? Those ones that used to come in, deep strike in after your units deep struck.
That's the kiddos, yeah.
Yeah, I remember back in 7th I had a unit of looters, and those Necrons came in front of them. And I think my opponents just expected me just to shoot at them with the looters. I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I see you're like 5 inches away, mate. And the looters went in and clobbered them, man. Because you're right, like, at the end of the day, you're still an orc. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter whether you're toting a slugger or a chopper
Same.
or a shooter or a borna or whatever, or rockets. If those boys get stuck in, heads are going to get split open, man. I mean business. It's always fun. But yeah, I have to say I enjoy collecting orcs. It's something I got into, and it harks back to the Space Wolves. I used to collect Space Wolves back in third edition, with the third edition Codex, and then I fought against someone who had orcs, and it was brilliant. I got tabled as the Space Wolves, but I loved it. I loved every single minute of it because my Space Wolves went down, absolutely swamped by boys. They were cutting good. It was so narrative. My blood claws charged forward into the horde of orc boys and cut down the first few lines, and you could just see them like, and the wolf guard getting stuck in, and there's just too many boys, and then they got stuck in, and you know what I mean. It was just carnage, utter carnage, but it was brilliant. It was what you want. You know what I mean? There's different ways you can go about playing the games, but I have to say, like, some of the games you try and play strategically, and you're standing back there and you're just shooting stuff and you're just claiming objectives, and it gets a bit boring for me. I really like the games that stick in my mind are the games where you have those moments where you've lost the game, but it was such a good game you loved it. You know what I mean? It's those moments that I think make the hobby. What about yourself?
Yeah, totally, man. I'm fully with you on that. It's like you say, it's those narrative moments in games that makes the hobby so good. And yeah, like you, some of the games in which I've lost have been my most fun games. That's for sure. Yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, and yeah, going back to like armies that if you sometimes when you're playing ultra competitive and you're doing anything to win, it makes you almost play sort of quite boring at times. It's fun to maybe do something that is unwise. Maybe at this crucial point in the game, your war boss charging their tank or their war boss or something at a key moment is not wise and it's not going to go well. But God, it's just so orky, and you're just like, fuck it. I'm just going to throw him in there. This is probably going to go really bad and cost me the game, but he would do that. And it's those moments that make it really fun. And occasionally those moments pay off and win you the game, and even better. But yeah, definitely. This, especially as an orc player, there's moments like that that make the game so much fun. And playing your army in the character it's designed to be played as and making a fluffy sort of story-driven game, it adds so much more depth to your games and so many more memorable moments. But yeah, so I'm with you on that, mate. Those memorable moments and those fluffy moments, they really do make it.
But they stick with you as well, like, because when you think of like your good times with the hobby, you know what I mean. You're not going to think of, oh, I had a good round of shooting and I shot those guys off of that objective and that won me the game. You'll think of the moment where you're saying like, oh, maybe I shouldn't. You'll have a gamble. It's like, right, if my war boss doesn't make this charge in, he's gonna get shot to pieces next turn. So it's probably not the most tactical thing. But when you pull that off, and you're like, yeah, he got stuck in and he killed the enemy vehicle and it blew up and it flipped and it landed on his commander, and yeah, you know what I mean?
Totally, totally. For me, any moment in a game where it doesn't happen very often, I think it's only happened once, where a grot has managed to kill a Terminator. Any moment where a grot manages to kill something is just epic and feels like a win. But yeah, I've had moments where my war boss, he was on his last wound. I had to make three. I think it was three feel no pain saves from my pain boy that was nearby. And so I'm looking for sixes, and I rolled 3 sixes, and I was just like, my God. And I thought that was like his last shot of the round or whatever. So I was like, whoa, that's amazing. He made it. He saved. And fully intended next turn Pain Boy to come in and heal him up. And then I find out he's got one more gun still to shoot. And of course, it polishes the almost. I'm like, oh, man, that sucks. But it's those moments like that that stick with you. And I remember playing way back with my Necrons and against Space Wolves, as it were. And first shot of the entire game from his Land Raider fired one singular twin-linked las cannon into my monolith and blew it up instantly. And I'm just like, my God! And I can't remember if I won or lost that game, but I definitely remember that fucking moment. I can tell you.
Those specific moments. Yeah, there's those moments in games as well. Like it's like I don't remember if we won or lost that game where my looters beat up the death marks or whatever they're called, but I remember that specific moment and I thought it was hilarious. You know what I mean?
Totally.
There are those memories that stick with you along the way.
Yeah, so you make a good point as well. Is that when we're talking about how you build a clan specific army, and that's one aspect of it. But I guess you've touched on a really good point actually. There, it's how you play that army as well that will bring out the character of your clan. So, I mean, obviously for you with the Blood Axes, you're going to be doing a lot of, sort of deep striking and infiltrating and things with your commandos and, coming in with looted vehicles and stuff. But then, in the way you play them and the tactics you use is, throwing in some sneaky, cunning but brutal tactics is definitely going to add to the flavor of your clan. Much like with Bad Moons, when you just unleash, get within, firing distance and just unleash every gun in your arsenal at a single target. It's definitely play.
And I think that hits onto why we play the clans we play, because that is very fluffy. Like each orc army, tactically and how it's built and how it strategizes will be different, because each orc army, even in the fluff, is shaped and molded by the war boss, his will, his tactics. That's why they're all so unique. And that's why if you look at some of the storyline and the fluff, the likes of the Ultramarines or whichever Space Marine chapters, they'll go for the war boss because they go for the head of the snake, because they have so much influence over the army, and that reflects in what clans we choose to play because it suits us. You know what I mean? It suits the tactics that we like, and it would also reflect onto each individual army. Your army composition will be slightly different to mine. My army composition will be slightly different to the next guy. We play different clans. We'll all have different ideas. Like, no two orc armies should be exactly the same. Now, when it gets to the tournament scene, obviously, there's going to be a meta build, and this is the way you build it. But even then, orc armies tend to be slightly varied, which is good because I think that would be the strength of our codex. If our codex enables a lot of variation in units and play between them, so that you can make the Badmion army that you want and like, and it's viable, and I get to make the Blood Axe army that I want and I like, and it's viable, and they're both playable armies. They're not
totally
detrimental to your tactical play. If we get that from the Codex, I'll be one happy knob.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Hey man, well, I think that's the number one weakness of our current index, is that the orcs on the competitive scene, they're doing okay, and you can make a very competitive build out of the orc army. The downside of it is that the only really competitive build currently is loads and loads and loads of boys, and just pouring just ridiculous amounts of boys across the table and just overwhelming the enemy. And my worst defeat thus far in 8th edition was when I went with a really fluffy list, and I had cans, Dread, Gorkanaut, Shooter Boys, Tank Busters, and I'd gone very fluffy and gone heavily mechanized, and it was horrendous. It was just I I chose the wrong army in a competitive wise, but it looked cool on the table, and I love the idea of a dread mob and stuff. But it's so not viable in the current state of what we've got. And yeah, like you say, that's going to be the biggest strength of the Codex is to be able to see competitive but very different armies. I want to see an army of big guns and killer cans and death dreads be just as effective as a horde army of boys or a speed freak army filled with bikes and buggies being really effective in its own way. Obviously, if used correctly and stuff with your traits and your stratagems and things, but definitely at the very least have it a viable option. That because currently, if you want to go into these a bit more specialized, fluffy armies and that, they are just that specialized and fluffy, but largely ineffective currently.
Yeah, it's a bit of a one-trick pony at the moment, but you know, some people are able to work some magical things with that index. You know what I mean? Some guys
Yeah, true. There is
are
some good stuff in there. I mean, boys are amazing. You know, if you have enough of them, they do what they say on the tin, and they do it bloody well. And I think there are some good. There's definitely some good in the index. It does get shit on a lot by myself largely, but there is actually some good in there. And I've had some good games, and I've had some games where I've, you know, I tabled Joe in one game against his Deathwing, where I'd been on the receiving end against that very same army and taken a couple of bad defeats, and then came back hard and thought my strategies and tried different tactics, and it worked really well. But I think I'm going to have a lot more wins headed my way with this new codex. I just think there's going to be so many more options, stratagems, and traits, and all just so many different options and things to try out. And it's going to be great fun trying them out. I know my subscribers are asking me to make more tactics videos. They are coming, guys, but once this codex drops, you'll be seeing a lot of them because there'll be so much to cover and so many different tactical opportunities that we can exploit and try out and play, test, and learn. It's going to be a good time. But do you know what I've just realised? We said we were going to go over all the clans. We've very selfishly only covered our own clans.
yeah. Funny that.
Yeah. So I guess with a brief outlay, I mean, Goths, I would say, if we're going to go Goths, I would say probably exact opposite of Bad Moons. You would leave the guns at home largely and all the special fancy stuff and get down to the no-nonsense boys, knobs, and Gazgol, really.
Get stuck in, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have things like Death Dreads and cans and stuff, definitely. But I think you would tailor them slightly different. You would definitely equip, rather than equipping your cans and your dreads with like any sort of long range weaponry and stuff. You'd probably be kitting out all your dreads with all dread claws and get them straight in, no nonsense, charge them up the field, straight into combat. I mean, Gazgol's a must in any Goth army. But yeah, I think you would probably just go for the Horde army and fill out with some big badass knobs kitted out with power claws and big choppers and just, yeah, overwhelm your enemy with close combat. But what about snake bites? Snake bites is one where...
What's the trait that they had coming up? They'd have a save or something. Was it like a feeling?
Yeah, that's right. Because Death Skulls would get the invulnerable save from their lucky blue war paint. Very Braveheart. And your snake bites will get these feel no pain 6+ from their, I guess, their grizzled sort of toughness and their resistance to sort of poisons and stuff. And
what would be cool is if the Games Workshop came out with like some plastic squigots or something like that. Because I know Forge will do them because I have one myself.
Yes.
They do the gargantuan squigot. Because anytime I think snake bites, I think squigots and I think gargantuan squigots. You know what I mean? That's sort of their whole breeding pens for giant squigots. That's the whole snake bite sort of thing. Now they, obviously you can have them in any orc army, but when I think snake bite, I think giant, massive squigs. Know
Hell,
yourself.
hell yeah, definitely. I mean, who knows? We might get a plastic squig off kit. Please, please, GW, that would be fucking incredible. But yeah, you're totally right. Squig offs. I think also grots play quite a big part in a snakebite army with runt herds and stuff.
Yeah,
Runt
yeah.
got that sort of feral thing, and I think there's been mention of it in the lore and the fluff saying that like, how the snakebite runt herds breed the best grots, almost like what they call like super grots, um, and the runt herds sort of play that sort of part of like a village elder almost, don't they? Like the ones that tell the stories. I mean, it's the runt herds that tell the stories of the brain boys and sort of keep their stories and their history and their stuff
History. Yeah,
alive.
yeah. The
And
lore.
weird boys, of course, weird boys would fit incredibly well in a snakebite army. Your sort of witch doctor, shaman type things. Yeah, so yeah, definitely that kind of thing. And again, loads of boys, it's very similar to the Goths, really, sort of no nonsense, brutal, but with a sort of feral aspect and like not really leave the war machines behind. I would probably, if I was doing a snakebite army, I would, like you say, go for squigoffs and stuff, and I wouldn't bring things like big guns and killer cans unless you've got a really cool. I've seen some amazing conversions and like counts as things like I don't know, looted carnifexes used as death dreads and I saw one very recently. I don't know if you saw it on the unification page or on one of the Orky Facebook groups where someone had taken like the I can't remember what it was. It was like the trolls or something, and they had got like cyborg bloody dread claws and stuff on them, so they were like big mutated, and they were using them as death dreads, and they looked incredible. And I thought that's such a cool idea for like a to get like death dreads in a snakebite army, but in a really clever, fluffy way. Things like that are really cool. But yeah, leave all the mechanized stuff behind generally for snake bites.
Well, that's it
Um,
though. I think you're right. It's about conversions. So I haven't seen the one you talked about, but like even the likes of bikes, I've seen guys who use the Age of Sigmar orc boar riders, and you can do like cyborgs, like they used to
yeah,
be.
great idea.
Yeah, and use them instead of bikes and stuff like that. Just stick guns on them and remove the back legs on them and put a wheel in and an engine in there, that type of thing.
Yeah, and
Um,
people using like some of the lizard men, like creatures and that, and using them as like they count them as like a truck, or so they're like sort of slightly smaller squig offs basically, or people like converting, like getting like dinosaur models and stuff and converting them and using them as like a battle wagon or a truck. Or just their own version of a squig off. There's lots of you can get really clever and creative with stuff like that, and it's sort of like you're almost kind of making your orc army a bit more like fantasy or Sigmar-esque than you are. You're limiting all the technology basically and thinking of ways you can represent stuff in a much more feral way. But I suppose you could squeeze in things like looted tanks and stuff. I guess they would, steal stuff and that.
but
Um,
this is I think that's the problem with snake bites is there's a misconception that they don't use technology at all. Just that initially when they start off, they're more down to earth and sort of feral. But as they're gonna be fighting things like any orc worth his salt, it's like if you beat up a space marine, you know what I mean? You're going to rip some armor off of his shoulder pads and steal his bolter, no matter what type of orc you are. So,
Definitely.
I think snake bites can progress to be more mechanical over time, and that's a lot of the reason why you'll see tusks. That's why tusks are included. Like if you look at the battle wagon kit, like
Yep.
tusks and stuff, I think that's supposed to represent that they're mounts, they're beasts of burden. That they treat them like beasts and not just vehicles.
Yeah.
Which ties into like snake bites over time. As their mounts would get killed off, they'd replace them with vehicles and stuff, but they'd still probably stick a howdah on top of a battle wagon. You know what I mean? That type of thing.
Yeah, my Gorkanaut's got tusks on it as well. The Gorkanaut and Walkanaut kit that comes with a lot of tusks as well. And do you know what? Do you know what? I think if I didn't collect Bad Moons, Snake Bites would probably be my next choice because just of the sheer conversion possibilities, you can dig into the savage Aurochs and the orcs from Fantasy and Sigmar and mix them in, and like say Squigoths and stuff. You could have some real fun converting in that. It's probably one of the best clans for doing conversions and getting really creative with stuff like that. But speaking of the clans like that, we know Big Mac Danskull is going to be watching, and we can't talk about the clans without talking about the Death Skulls.
Those thieving gits. I thought you bad moons were bad. At least you mostly bribe people to get what you want. You turn your back, and
yeah, at least we
next thing you
pay for
know,
it.
there'll be blue everywhere.
We might gloat about it and strut around like peacocks, but at least we've paid good hard earned teeth for that.
Not like them thieving deaf skulls. I'm telling you, man.
No.
You can tell you're in a deaf skull encampment because you'll turn around and your favourite war buggy will be on blocks and painted blue.
yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, Death Skull's pretty easy, really. Looters by the truckload, and it loads and loads of looters, and loads of looted wagons. Get your Land Raiders, get your Rhinos, get your Tauroxes, your everything. You can again another army you can go crazy with converting with. I've seen all kinds of crazy looted wagons and truck conversions made out of Dark Elder Raiders, Tau Devilfish, and all sorts of stuff like that. And I'm sure it was wherever the famous picture came from, the looted Carnifex. I imagine that was Death Skulls. They even loot the carcass of a fucking Tyranid.
Oh, I've seen some crazy looted stuff. If you go over, you know, it's like people who've looted crabs, sort of like they've eaten a crab and then they've preserved the shell and stuff, and they'll
yeah,
make
recently it was amazing.
they'll make crazy stuff, man. You know what I mean? You'll have everything like looted crabs, looted carnifexes, looted Necron vehicles. You know, something you wouldn't think could be looted. Death Skulls are looted.
Yeah,
100%. I'm sure if they could get their hands on the Emperor, they'd loot him as well. Him and his golden throne. Stick a pair of wheels on it. A bit of the old walkie gubbins and a control stick, and away you go. No?
Definitely. And who have we got left? We've got Evil Sons, of course. Evil Sons. So, yeah, Evil Sons, you just buy all the new vehicles that are about to be released. That's step one. Buy Speed Freaks box set. That'll be step two.
Everything in red paint. And I mean everything.
Definite. Yeah, and just I think that's one army where you could literally bypass boys completely and just have bikers. Although you can still have boys, but I think you would want your boys, if you wanted to have it really fluffy, you'd want your boys loaded into trucks and battle wagons.
Yeah, everything mounted up. I reckon if you're doing it properly, you'd want everything mounted up. So boys in their trucks, characters on bikes. That new war boss that's coming out, that you'd be perfect for like Evil Sons and Speed Freak armies, because you want everything mounted up and fast. And
totally, yeah.
Me in, you know.
Again, no, you wouldn't want lumbering Gorkanauts and Death Dreads and things like that. Really, I wouldn't have thought. And you, like you say, you wouldn't want anything on foot. Everything would either need to be on wheels or flying. So Deathcopters, jets, anything fast, and anything that is on foot, it better be mounted in something, because otherwise they can't really call themselves an Evil Son.
No, not at all. I agree with you there. Definitely, when I think Evil Son, I think speed. You know what I mean? Like there's a speed freak in every Evil Son, but not all speed freaks are Evil Sons. You know what I mean?
Just watch every Mad Max film that's ever been made,
and you can't go wrong.
Yeah, watch all of those, and just you will be massively inspired for conversions and kit bashes, and again, loot stuff, loot vehicles, and convert them. But yeah, just all mounted. And so we've pretty much we've covered every clan now. We've done Evil Sons, Death Skulls, Snake Bites, Goths, Bad Moons, Blood Axes. So that is, we have covered every single clan there, haven't we?
Have indeed.
We have every clan, because there's nothing else worth mentioning there, is there? I think.
I don't think so. No, like there's clans and odd boys are the culture. You know, we have evil sons, and like I was saying, speed freaks. Speed freaks is sort of a way of life. Then you've freebooters, which is a way of life, but it's not really clans.
Yeah, those dirty freebooters.
Freebooters, this yes,
Mhm. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know what I think about freebooters, because they're a lot of freebooters tend to come from the Bad Moon clan, and
get
yeah,
too uppity for the war boss and get kicked out. Is that what
yeah,
happens?
yeah, they peacock even too much for Bad Moons to bear, and they they kind of, I don't know, they kind of, there's somewhere they got a little bit of, they got a lot of Bad Moon in them, because they love, they want all the riches, all the treasures, all the best stuff, the big shooty guns, but at the same time they don't have much honor. They've got the sort of thievery side of Death Skulls, so they will happily go out and loot all this treasure, steal all this treasure, and hire. They've also got blood axe traits where they'll hire their services out to other
Very
clans.
yeah, very mercenary. They're like you're
Very
thinking
so.
mercenary. It's freebooters all the way, man. And it'll have everything. It'll have the spectrum from space pirates down to like crack commandos down to, you know what I mean? It's not just flash kits that are freebooters. Freebooters is a whole catch term for, you know, a part of orc society that's sort of outcast somewhat.
Definite, and they're. I mean, we had a lot. There's been a lot of famous freebooters, isn't there? There's obviously Captain Bad Ruck, and the weird boy, very famous weird boy. I covered him in one of my videos. He started out, I believe, as a snake bite, but then was hiring his services out, and you know,
Hogwarts?
off. That's the one. Yeah, I'm sure he was a freebooter. I think he started out as a snake bite, but I think he ended up as a freebooter. Um, but they're probably the orcs that you would encounter on like these drifting space hulks and stuff, aren't they? And
Well,
um,
you could encounter them anywhere. That's the whole premise behind them is, you know, they're mercenary. They don't really have like they're not affiliated to a planet as such, or they're not organized the way typically an orc army would be. Yeah, you're more likely to find them in like a flotilla, sort of ramshackled out in space, and you know, hire out their services type of thing, or you know, so some of it's piratical. You know what I mean? Raiding parties and such. But like I said, not all of them are flash kits, which is the misconception that the 7th edition Codex sort of portrayed for people.
yeah, yeah. And as a Bad Moon player, which are flash kits to me, they're Bad Moons to me. Any Bad Moon army is going to have flash kits, big snaz guns and stuff. We're going to pay the money to get that sort of gear. And then, yeah, like you say, in the 7th edition Codex, the sort of freebooters sort of soaked all that up. But they're not a clan, guys. They're not a clan.
I can smell the dislikes from here already.
They're just not. They're just not a clan. They might have clan traits, but they're not a clan. What I will say about them, though, what I will say, um, their one redeeming feature is they've got cool hats.
They have the coolest of hats. I have the Captain Badrook miniature that Eric painted for me, staring at me here, looking on disapprovingly as we're passing comments. As is
Yeah.
life. As is. But yeah, it's definitely, I have to say, no matter
See,
what comes and what rules we get, it is interesting times to either be an orc player or be interested in orcs. It's going to be amazing. I really do think it is.
oh, Bad rock, bad rock. Sorry to interrupt, but bad rock. Another sore. But this is why I'm so sore on freebooters, because he was a bad moon. Just
Oh, I see. So he went turncoat
oh,
on you. So that's why it stings. That.
probably like one of my favourite characters of all the orc characters. One of my favourite ones. And yeah, but oh, bad rock.
Do you have a Badrook miniature?
I don't. I'm ashamed to say I don't. I do.
We'll have to sort that out then, my good man, sometime soon. Jesus,
I,
can't be having that.
like I said, my force currently, I've got plans for it. I am currently working on the sort of dread mob side of it. But what I do need to add to my clan is flash gits and mega knobs, because I love the thought of just a whole army of things covered in ridiculous amounts of armor and bristling ridiculous amounts of dakka, and yeah, peacocking and strutting their stuff. And yeah, basically, I want a war boss that stood out there like the orc version of P Diddy, you know, just dripping in gold.
Got his grill and all.
Oh hell yeah, hell yeah,
Probably.
hell.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably why I'm into Bad Moons, because I'm such a big like hip hop fan. I grew up watching all that.
The pimps of 40k,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
orc Bad
yeah,
Moons.
definitely. Yeah, Biggie Smalls is gonna be my orc war boss.
Do it, man. Pimp Kane, the everything, the crown. Yeah, I could see that. That would look
Pimp,
class.
pimp my ride, definite.
Yeah, the battle wagons constantly look like they're moving because they have the rims like spin and stuff like that.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
spinning rims, the hydraulic fucking jump suspension and that, bouncing up there on their low riders and stuff. Yeah, definite, man, definite. Doesn't matter if it's fast. It doesn't matter if it's effective, as long as it looks cool.
Is it blinging? Yeah, sorted them.
The rule of cool. The rule of cool. That's
That is
Bad
it.
Moons all
Like
like.
when it comes to orcs, it is about the rule of cool. People, I think someone posted that up recently somewhere online. It's like, oh, should I do this with my miniature? It'll be slightly detrimental tactically. And it's like, dude, rule of cool. If it's gonna look awesome, do it, man. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally. I got the I started collecting the orcs again, and I got back into the hobby at the very tail end of 7th edition, and I knew that the Gorkanaut was, and I know our opinions on this model are different. I mean, personally, I love the model. I know you're not so keen on it.
It's okay. It's okay. There's room for improvement.
But in 7th edition, that thing was shit.
Oh, oh.
It's improved somewhat in this edition. It's still not where it needs to be. It's still, in my opinion, overcosted for what it does. It is very good in combat. I mean, it is. Oh, I've seen that thing decimate Terminators like they were nothing, and it's amazing to do. But it does need, in my opinion, need to be cheaper, or something needs to be done with it. But for me, in the next Codex, it could be so bad, it could be horrendous. I would still treasure and love that model and still use every excuse to squeeze him into my army lists, because for my army, he's like the centerpiece. He's like the big centerpiece model of my army, and I love him, and he's awesome. And
He's your big boy bling, is he? He's the
definite.
centerpiece of the army. I don't know. I think maybe my view of them.
I'm gonna have
jaded.
to. He is the notorious Big. He is definite. Yeah, that's it. He's named now, Big. But yeah, he is. So yeah, there's models and there's units where even if they're not effective, if the model looks good enough, I will buy it and I will play it, even if in game terms it's shit. Because like I said, the rule of cool. If you know. We're in this game playing with miniatures and painting and modelling and that should, I think, take precedence over combat effect. Combat effect.
100%. There's no point. Like the amount of man hours that you have to put into painting these miniatures. If you don't actually like the miniature that you're painting, that is going to make that so much harder for you to slog through, because it's hard enough trying to paint through hordes of orc boys when you like the miniatures. You know what I mean? And you're trying to get through it, and you're trying to keep yourself motivated. Now imagine on top of that that you don't even like the miniature you're painting, but you're painting it just so you have something because it's like tactically it's the thing to have. Could you imagine? It'd be like pulling teeth out, man. Like,
Yeah,
oh my god.
I couldn't do it. I think I've done it. I mean, I've done it with this army. I've got my tank busters, which are one of my favourite units in game terms in the game. But I don't like the models for the most part that they've got out of the tank busters. I don't like them. So I converted my own and made my own ones, and I think that's an option you always have. But I've done it in the past with other models and stuff like with my Black Legion army back in the day. I wasn't really keen on the bikers, but I wanted bikers in my army, and I ended up converting Chaos Space Marines riding like cybernetic dogs. Do you remember the game Inquisitor with the larger
Yeah,
scale
the
models?
cyber staff.
Yeah, I
dog,
basically
remember.
I got a load of those, and I did a bit of conversion and stuff, and I had the guys and had them riding those, and those were my bikers. They count as them because I didn't like them all, but I wanted them in the army, and it ended up going one step further because they had I can't remember where it came from, but it was a 40k scale Cybermaster, so it was exactly the same sort of model, but in a much smaller scale, and I ended up having that. It's one of the few models I do have from back then, my custom made Chaos Warlord, and he's got that Cyber Mastiff on a chain leash. So it kind of, the whole army ended up having like a dog theme to it, like the Dogs of War type thing. And you can sometimes it's a blessing in disguise actually having a kit or a model that you don't like, and you're like, fuck it, I'll make my own. Or I'll convert my own.
Force you to be creative somewhat then, and
totally. And like, remember in the old Flash kits, they never had models out for them before. There was a unit in the Codex, and to me, as soon as I see that, and it's a shame GW don't do that anymore, where they have a data sheet and there's no model for this. If you want this and you want to play this, you're gonna have to build or convert your own. And as soon as I see that, that's like a red rag to a bull for me. I'm like, sure, that's a project I want to work on. I want to read the little bit of fluff. I want to read the stats and think, I've just got a great idea how I can make that work. I know exactly what models I can, kit bash and convert and turn into that. I love any chance to do anything like that.
Well, this is it though. Like, if we get the Looted Wagon back, maybe we will have opportunities of that again, because there was a period of time where we had profiles for stuff but didn't actually have any miniatures, like old Zogwart and the looted vehicles or looted wagons, as I'm talking about. You know what I mean? And then they cut that out after a while. It would be cool if we got the looted wagon back and what rules we could get, or even if they gave us like a conversion kit. So a kit where that was just all bits and pieces of stuff, and you just pick a vehicle from another army and just loot it. You know what I mean? That would be kind of cool.
That'd be amazing. Definitely. I mean, we know how many people are crying out for that thing, and I know there's ways you can do it now. Like, I mean, I'm still in the process. I haven't finished it yet, but my looted Taurox or Taurox, however you pronounce it, that basically for me counts as a truck, or you can get a Land Raider and you can convert it in kit bash and it counts as a battle wagon. So there's ways round it, but it's not quite as satisfying as the looted wagon was. The looted wagon having a profile of its own and having all the various different options you could put on it and change it. It opened up loads of opportunities and ways you could do stuff. And it would be really cool. And if they did, like you say, release an upgrade kit, that'd be the dream. That'd be great.
Only time will tell. We don't know, but we're still wishing and hoping and praying to Gorka Mork, seeing what will come out of the Codex release. So, like I said, I can hear my bank account screaming already just from what they've released, let alone what's yet to come down.
Yeah, the only sad part of that is I know in October I'm not going to be able to afford all of it.
So you'll just have to pace yourself. You'll have to pace yourself. So you'll
I
have
have
to
to.
paint miniatures and work your way along.
It definitely, and I think that's important to remember as well. We don't have to rush out and buy all of these straight away because they're not going anywhere. I mean, Speed Freaks, maybe we don't know how long that's going to stick around for. That might be a limited run, but in terms of the vehicles and the units and stuff, when they're released, we don't need to be queuing up outside of GW to get them day one because 2 years from now, they're still going to be there on the shop shelves and they're still going to be there to mail order and whatever. So we we could probably show a little bit of restraint on that front and not just
Well, we'll see
but
what
it's
happens. It's like
do you know what I was saying it, mate, and I'm not even believing
you're
my
not.
own
Oh,
words when
yeah,
I'm saying it.
I can hear the tone in your voice where you're like, I don't believe a word I'm saying here at all. Do you know what I'm going to be interested in is when the Codex comes out, is finally hashing out a 2,000 point army because I don't know about you, but right now I'm not feeling the painting bug because I'm like, well, I don't know if I'm going to have this in my army when the Codex releases, so I'm not too pushed about painting stuff. So I know myself, I'm going to make up at least a 2,000 point list once the Codex comes out, and I'm going to push to get that painted fully because I'm hesitant at the moment, you know?
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, for me, it's a little bit different. Mine has just purely been for time constraints and stuff, and sort of the motivation. I think, like you say, with the release of the new codes and new kits, that's definitely going to be a big incentive to get painting. I think I'm going to continue working on my cans and my dreads, and work towards that sort of, like you say, a 2,000 point mechanized army. For one, it'll be cheaper, easier sort of prospect rather than that many boys, but also just the theme of it and stuff. And I'm cautiously optimistic that that kind of style of list and those units are going to get a big buff. And I think if things like I think everything's going to get a buff, even if it doesn't, because of the stratagems and the traits and stuff. And we're going to get clan specific stratagems. We're going to get unit specific stratagems. So there might be a stratagem in there for a big mob of killer cans that I don't know says, you 2 command points, your killer cans re-roll all their hits in the shooting phase, or they get to do this, or there's going to be loads of different stuff like that that makes our existing units so much better before they've even had a points drop or a buff in some way. So I think literally if we just had the codex and nothing had really changed, but they'd thrown in loads of stratagems, we're going to be in a better position.
Yeah, just
But
in the context of the Codex itself, just being in and part of it, like it makes, like you're saying, it makes a massive difference having those stratagems and those extra bits and pieces that come just having a Codex as opposed to just having the index. Like that makes such a big change in the army in and of itself. Like you said, just before, even without like modifying the units point wise and stat wise, you have a very valid point there. I think having the codex itself will be a step up, regardless of what they do or don't do codex wise. But I do think there's quite a few units that could do a points drop, and Stomp is probably number one on the top of that list for me because my
oh,
god, is it overpriced?
oh, it's absurd. What were they thinking? It's just ridiculous. Yeah. I don't think you're never going to see a stomper on a table at a tournament. No, it's just not going to happen. Yeah, it's absurd. That needs a massive, massive cut in points. But yeah, a lot of units I think do. We it's when you start comparing your equivalent unit to another factions who've probably got a codex, and most of the codexes have come with from their index buffs and points drops on a lot of units and stuff. And when you compare a Death Dread to a Space Marine Dreadnought, the Dreadnought is a lot more effective and a lot better at what it does, and the points are pretty much on par. And you think that's just not right. We should be paying a lot less for our stuff because it's a lot less effective at what it does, and it's fulfilling that same role. I mean, like my Gorkanaut is, I think I might be wrong on this, but it's around the ballpark same figure. But I've had him in a match against Magnus of the Thousand Suns, and I think the points are quite similar. I think Magnus might actually be cheaper, but Magnus could literally tear through half my army single-handedly and decimate with his psychic shenanigans and his just ridiculous powers and strength of stuff that he does. My Gorkanaut just does not have that same battlefield effectiveness, not by a long shot, but yet I'm paying well over 300 points for it. It's yeah, we need big points drops, I think, or big buffs, or both.
Yeah, it's one or the other, or both would be nice. You know, orc stuff, I think, in people's eyes is disposable, so the points should reflect that. It's like, our stuff isn't going to last very long. You know, if it hits, it does okay, but then make them ridiculously cheaper in points, or keep their points the same and buff them up to what that point value should be. You know what I mean?
Totally. I'd be quite happy to have my cans and my Death Dread and stuff as they are. But like you say, like a lot cheaper. And that way, when they don't perform so well, they're getting shot off the table with ease. Like you say, at least I can, they're disposable. But currently, they don't have a disposable points cost. It's painful when some of this stuff gets destroyed and taken off the board, and you're like, oh, that's like a third of my bloody army or something in points. You know, just so easily wiped off, and it's achieved absolutely dick all.
Yeah,
It's
but
hard.
that's part of the reason why I don't like the Gorkanaut. Too many suppressed memories from 7th edition of being one-shotted, blown up, and taking 40 orcs with it. It's like, oh, not again.
Yeah. Oh, but God, when that thing gets into combat though, with that fucking claw of Gork or Mork, that is so damn good.
Probably makes a mess, all right. You know,
Oh,
you'd be better off converting a blender on the end of its arm.
Hell yeah. So what? How long have we been chatting for now?
We're rambling on for too long. We probably should wrap it up at this stage. I think it's not quite the 2 hour mark, but we've gone on a bit.
Well, I remember our first sort of pilot show, episode 1, was about 40 minutes. And then the episode 2 that we just shot was just over an hour. And we were sort of discussing that that's just like the sweet spot. We were going to make sort of every episode around an hour long. Yeah, we've massively failed.
And now we're just talking the legs off of every chair in the country. It's like, yeah, all right, yeah, no matter. Right, so we probably better wrap it up then. So
totally. Just before we do wrap it up, I just have to say a big thanks to Velgarn, the designer of our awesome looking 2 bald knobs logo. Really chuffed with that. It was one of my subscribers back when I injured my hand. He drew a picture of Boss Knob 6+ Stevo and sent it to me, you know, with my power claw where I'd injured my hand. So it was just inspired him to just draw a picture randomly, and I loved it. I thought it was amazing. It was my first piece of fan art, and so yeah, when we were sort of coming up with the idea of doing this show, I got in touch with him and said, look, can you do me again, but do Skarner as well, and get us both together in like a podcast scenario and design our logo? And yeah, he was very happy to oblige, and yeah, it's just given us this awesome art to use on the show, which I'm really chuffed with. So we'll pop a link, Skarner will pop a link in the description to his Deviant art page, where you can see some more of his artwork and stuff. And you know, he does commissions and stuff, so if you want to get in touch with him and have him draw up something for you or something, get in touch with him and, you know, see what he says. And yeah, hopefully from this little shout out we can send a little bit of business his way.
yeah, the art's absolutely amazing. And when you first showed it to me, I was well impressed. Yeah, it's jaw droppingly. You know what I mean? And it fits. I think it fits the bill as well. It's sort of it like he's captured the character of the two of us, and what we're sort of up to, the vibe we're after. You know what I mean? So
Totally.
yeah, it's awesome, man. I think it's epic.
Yeah, it's really good. So yeah, a big thanks to Velgarn is the name he goes by. I don't want to use his real name because I haven't actually asked permission if I can use his real name. But yeah, mate, if you're watching, which I hope you are, thank you very much, buddy. And we'll always have your link to your DeviantArt page in the description of every time we use this logo. But yeah, just wanted to put a little quick shout out there and give thanks to that because it's given our Two Bald Knobs show a nice sort of professional kind of look to it, and it's nice to have a good thumbnail to use for our videos.
Yeah, we get to pretend we're slightly more professional than we are, even though
Yeah,
you know the truth of it. It's a shoestring budget, and everything's duct taped together and held together with chewing gum. But sure, it's grand. We'll get there in the end. We'll get there in the end.
totally, yeah.
Right, so we're rambling now. We're gonna wrap it up. So from Scarn here, take it easy, guys.
Yeah, and this is 6 Plus Stevo signing out.